But I would say like for the hiring process, the biggest lesson we got is intuition is always right. You should never listen to your board about hiring.
Okay.
Because
So you met Shar, your co-founder, at Lemonway.
Yes.
So you guys worked together there.
Yes.
And how did you know that Shar was the person you wanted to start the business with?
Well, because first, it's very hard to have a technical co-founder. You know, like a lot of people are like, I need a CTO, I need a CTO.
Yeah.
I think like, yeah, it's one of the main pain points for business people.
Building a tech company, for sure.
Yeah, for a tech company. You can't build a tech company without a CTO co-founder.
Yeah.
I don't know the rate of success, but best tech companies is where the CTO is the CEO, you know, because they know about product. And I think because with Charles, he also liked the adventure. So he liked it.
Yeah.
And I think like it was kind of natural. I was like, we get along well. He's very strong technically wise. It made me realize the importance of product because also I didn't know about fintech, but I didn't know about product. Like the first hire we did at Julaya was a designer. And I was like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
A designer? We are not like an agency, you know. And it's like, we need that.
Yeah.
Because we need to have even if like the backend is not strong enough or high end of the backend, we need the front end to be appealing to the customer and they need to feel like we have a superior product.
Yeah. But tell me about, so there's probably people listening to the show right now that are thinking about starting a company, but don't know how to pick their co-founder or who to pick as their co-founder.
Yeah.
What advice, like, not even advice, like what were the 2 to 3 things with your co-founder you're like, okay, you know what, I think we should work together?
So I think the most important is that you admire your co-founder, that you feel they are better than you. Because if you feel superior to your co-founder, I think like it's not a symbiotic relationship because you will feel like you need to push them, etc. So you got to be complementary, right? Because you got to have like complementary skills.
So complementary skills would be the first big one.
And you got to admire them for that.
Okay.
Like not, they're okay in this field. You got to say, okay, I am completely clueless, but I trust them because they are, you know, amazing.
So Mathias, in this last round of funding, you decided to give your first angel investors an opportunity to exit the business.
Yeah.
And what made you think of doing that for them?
So it was an opportunity because we had a fund that wanted to come in, but we could not take so much dilution.
Yeah.
So we were like, we like this fund.
Yeah.
And also we like the opportunity that they could follow on in later rounds. So we said, okay, let's try to find secondaries.
Yeah.
And it matched. So we reached out to those angels and we said, now it's time if you want. You can get not a 10x return, but you can get a decent return.
Yeah. What was the return?
Return was 4x.
4x.
Yeah.
4x in a couple of years. That's really good for them.
IRR 35%.
Okay.
So it's like beating the market.
What have been the 2 biggest challenges or 3 biggest challenges with hiring people that you've learned across this process?
Okay. So there's a lot, right? With people, I mean, it's the heart of the thing. And the bigger you become, and the more it's about people. So your first hires is the most important, etc. But I would say like for the hiring process, the biggest lesson we got is intuition is always right. So you put all of this process and sometimes you feel something isn't right. You follow the process, but you're like, by the process it works, but I feel like something's not working. And I think people don't follow enough their intuition because they think it's like irrational. But it's actually, I had a friend told me that it's actually a primal mechanism that your body sends to warn you that something isn't right, but that your brain hasn't had the time to fully process. And it's actually true. Like every time we had a bad intuition about a hire, it actually ended up revealing itself. And then also defining your culture. It's very hard because you always hear founders, like late stage founders saying culture is very important because I think it's like building a culture for like 20 people is not too hard. Building a culture for like 100 people is much harder.
Yeah.
Because if you want to talk, let's say just even 10 minutes with each of your employees per year, you would need 1,000 minutes.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
It's not
just
possible.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
And the people will feel frustrated because you only talk 10 minutes to them.
Yeah.
So you can't have a personal relationship, etc. So you have to build this thing where people feel like they're close to the top management, even if they're not, because they don't really talk to the CEO or to the CTO. Very hard.
Yeah.
So that's what I think is about culture. It's like people feel close to each other without actually being.
Right.
Personally.
Have you ever been forced to make a hire that like you've regretted?
Yeah.
Yeah?
So actually, it happened. And I think you should never listen to your board about hiring.
Okay.
Because it's like, it's your own process. Your board is not making your hiring. They can vet, but they should not push a hire to you, I think. Because it happened to us.
What happened?
So we had, we were, before our last fundraise.
So just to clarify, your board came up to you and was like, Mathias, we want you to bring in this person or this type of person at the company.
They said you need to show that you can hire top level people. Because we only had, talent is very difficult, right? Yeah. And when you don't have money, just the equity, it's like you should give 10% equity to, convince someone that's already done it, like it's worth it. Very difficult.
Yeah.
So they said, look at this profile. Yeah. She looks perfect on paper. Yeah. You should hire her.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, let's do the hiring process. And we had this intuition. We had like some stuff don't work, but.
So in the process, you had a gut feeling that like this is not going to work.
Yes.
But because you felt pressured by the board, you're like,
and that was a big mistake. Yeah. That was a big mistake because it was a perfect match on paper, but it was a failed hire for a top executive talent. And I remember when I listened to the CEO of Stripe on a podcast, and she said it was the same. Like a lot of executive hires, they fail because it's perfect match on paper, but people don't follow. Like, okay, it's not just about like your resume and how good your resume looks. It's really about the person.
So you ended up hiring this person, and then letting them go.
Yeah, because it was a complete mismatch.
What does success look like for you with Julaya?
So I used to think that financial return was not important. I used to think like, it was more like social return, etc. But now I'm more nuanced. I would say like we live in this capitalist world and we are embracing it. If you're an entrepreneur, you should embrace it. You can have some view on how, especially about externalities. I think now capitalism is incorporating externalities. So you are thinking, what's your carbon footprint, what's your social impact, etc. But it's still at the core of capitalism. Because what brings or what elevates society is capitalism. Yeah. So now for me, success will be like building a great company, which valuation is not fake, it's true, because it creates economic activity for people.
What matters to you most in life and why?
Enjoying.
Enjoying?
Yeah. So like a lot of people don't enjoy the work they do. And I would say like, just quit your work. Even if you go homeless or not maybe homeless, but jobless for 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, have some friends help you, live on a low budget and find something that really resonates with you. And, enjoy whatever moment you do, enjoy it. And especially enjoy the time with your family. I wrote this stuff about my, the age of my father. So my father is now not too old either. It's like 57 or 58. And, according to the average age expectancy, if I see him only once a year in France for the men, I will maybe see him 20 times more. So every time I see him, it's 5% of the remaining time I should see him. So when you have that in mind, you're like, okay, never do something that you don't enjoy and enjoy every moment you're, spending with people, even if you're not doing something very exciting, but just talking to the person, having a great conversation, sharing some food, sharing some culture, going to the beach, enjoying the sun. Yeah, it's enough.
Yeah.